All right, we are live, and I am so glad that you're here with me today. I just wanted to thank you for stopping by. And whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, we're just so glad that you're here. So, this is actually our first live stream. We have a lot coming up, and I want you to know that this is all about you. We want to add value to you, whether you're looking to move to Bozeman, just if you live in Bozeman, if you're moving across the state, whatever it may be, we want to add value to you. So make sure to leave comments, let us know, reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Let us know how we can help you and what questions that you have that we can answer through our channel. So we're live right now. I'm curious, where are you watching from? So let me know. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Where are you watching from? And I'm just curious, are you in the United States? Are you in Bozeman? Where are you tuning in from? Let us know. So today we're going to be talking about several things about real estate, about life in Montana, about winter. Winter is here and it has been fierce this year. I think a lot of people that moved here from warmer climates are maybe regretting their decision. It's not always this bad. Sometimes it's worse though too. So whether you're a sunny weather person or if you love winter and snowboarding, Montana is definitely going to be on the cold side this year. So it started in November and it just hasn't let up yet. Normally we can get our Christmas lights up before or after Thanksgiving, but not this year. So a lot of people are having to clear their roofs just to get Christmas lights up. And then yesterday we got about 6 more inches of snow, and there was about 30 cars in the ditch on I-90 in between Bozeman and Belgrade. So make sure you're driving safe out there if you're out there in this weather. So talking today about real estate and a lot about housing and inventory and talking about affordability. So there's a lot of growth happening in Bozeman right now, and that has led to a lot of challenges with home affordability. So we see that all the time on our channel, people commenting on there that Montana's full and to, stay out of Montana, that you're driving up the housing prices. And well, it's a little bit true. So supply and demand is the biggest factor that has played a role in housing affordability, especially in Bozeman, but all across the country. So I actually heard a number just the other day that Bozeman's about 3,000 houses short of meeting demand for housing. So, it's a big issue. So we're going to talk today about that and what's coming up as far as housing goes in Bozeman. There's a lot of development happening, and Bozeman's kind of growing at a pace right now that's uncomfortable. There's going to be a lot of growing pains over the next several years. And if you're familiar with Bozeman and Montana as a whole, you've seen that growth happen. It's been expedited and we're growing incredibly fast. We're one of the fastest growing states in the country, and Bozeman is one of the fastest growing cities in the country per capita. So right now we have a shortage of housing. A big part of that is just we can't build fast enough. We don't have enough labor here, and it's a challenge. So there's a lot of development happening. And if the last 10 years have surprised you, your head might spin a little bit when we talk about what's going to come next. There's a lot of development about to happen and currently happening in Bozeman. I was really paying attention to it this summer, and land was selling like crazy. Big chunks of land were going for ridiculous prices. And a lot of that is because of the need for housing here. So it's kind of, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the housing or the people? In our case, the people have come and now we have to play catch up with housing. It's just something that needs to happen until we can increase that inventory and get it into more of a balanced market. We're going to have prices continuing to rise and rise. So let's look at what's going on here. We have several subdivisions coming up in Bozeman, and right now we have Northwest Crossing. So they're building their commercial corner right now, and that's going to be a really cool subdivision. It's over like kind of by the new high school, just kitty corner from that. There's a commercial corridor going in right now, and then a ton of housing. It's massive development going in for Bozeman, and you're going to see that coming on. There's several that are already building. So we have White Horse Ranch, which is across from the Commons off of the corner of Baxter and Love Lane, kind of over by Black Bull subdivision. And they're building in there right now. That's one. And then Grand Cielo over kind of South Bozeman off of 19th, 27th area there. So that one's coming on, but there's a lot more coming too. So Blackwood Groves is over off of 19th and Blackwood. And that one is coming up soon to where they're putting in the infrastructure. I think they've broken ground on houses, and we're going to start seeing those hit the market, which is a major development going in that's going to add a lot of housing over on the south side of Bozeman. We also have coming up, let's see here. We have Norton Ranch has another phase coming, and that's over off of Huffine to the west side of Bozeman. A lot of houses going in there. They serve a pretty good price point too, so that's a really good neighborhood to get affordable housing into. And then we also have coming up, we have the West Post subdivision. So this is in Belgrade, and it's another massive one. This is the biggest subdivision to go into Belgrade, I believe, and it's big and it's multi-purpose. So there's a big commercial front going in, which is really going to transform Belgrade. So between the airport plaza that's going in, which is a commercial development, and then the commercial part of West Post, you're going to see a lot of demand and a lot of amenities being added over off of Alaska and off of the airport interchange. So it's going to be kind of neat to see how Belgrade kind of shifts their commercial center to those areas. There's a hotel being built in there right now that's much needed in Belgrade. There's a lot of tourist demand that is yet to be met, and we need more rooms for tourists coming in and serving the airport as our airport expands. But West Post is going to have single family homes. It has multifamily, and then the commercial front that I talked about. So pretty neat subdivision going in there. It is also going to kind of open up a corridor to a new elementary school off of Frank in Belgrade. So pretty neat how that's all coming together. But I know that change can be a little bit scary for a lot of you, and I get it. You know, it's our home, and we hate seeing change happen. But I would encourage you to embrace it because we can't stop the people. You know, Bozeman has been discovered, and it's kind of a mystery why it stayed so small for so long. You know, when you look at the amenities we have with Big Sky Resort and Bridger Bowl and the university, and then being on the I-90 corridor, and then just how beautiful this area is, you know, the fact that it took as long as it did to really get discovered is kind of surprising. So it is growing. Unfortunately, we can't stop it. It's not going to stay the same, and it's something that we just need to embrace. You know, with growth comes opportunity. So having a community that there's more opportunity and more, you know, availability for income, I think that's a net positive. So it is going to keep growing, and we need to make sure that we grow smart as a community. And I think Bozeman and Belgrade have done a pretty good job of planning how they're going to grow and how they're going to accommodate all this influx of people in order to have a good growth plan and preserve as much of the character of Bozeman and Belgrade as we possibly can. So another one, as far as home availability goes, so supply and demand is the big factor, like I mentioned, but there are some subdivisions going in that are trying to directly impact home pricing and affordability. So over on the northeast side of town on Bridger Drive, there's Bridger View subdivision going in, and they're actually partnered with the Headwaters Community Housing Trust. And that housing trust is offering housing at below market pricing. So that's something that you're able to actually enter a lottery. So phase one is they're all claimed, but they're going to have 2 more phases coming, and you can, starting in January, I believe, actually enter into the lottery to be selected to purchase one of these below market value houses. Now, they did this in a way where they didn't build them any cheaper. They're indistinguishable for, you know, how the housing is, but they're partnered with this charity essentially to help make it more affordable for people. So that's definitely something to check out. If you're interested in that, let us know. We can help you get all the information you need. But there's some pretty nice houses going in there, and I think it's really a good thing that they're doing. They also have regular houses going in, and it's about 50-50 split, where you have regular prices that are going to be market value, and then you have the discounted homes as well. Now, you can sell them just like regular in the future, from my understanding, and so there's no limitations by doing that. There's no deed restrictions that I'm aware of. It's just a really good option to help people get into a house at a more affordable price. We also have over on the west side of town a subdivision going in called Cameron Crossing. So before I talk about this one, if you're getting any value out of this live stream, make sure to click like and hit subscribe. Let us know that we should keep going and that we want to, give more value to you in the future. We have a lot of these planned. We have some awesome guests coming up. So go ahead and give us a like if you're getting any value out of this. But over on the west side of town, so you have Cameron Crossing. And so this is out of city limits. It's off of Jackrabbit. And this is a manufactured home community. So this is kind of a different strategy in order to gain a more reasonable price point. So they've advertised homes starting at $250,000, and I've heard rumors that that price is probably going to go up a little bit, but they're able to get you into a nice home in a nice community at an entry level price, which is something that we've been missing for quite a while. And the way that they're able to do this is through a land lease. So instead of buying the home and the land like you typically think of with real estate, you're able to buy the home and then lease the land. So it's similar to kind of like a King Arthur's Park or whatever, but you get a nice manufactured home put in there with modern amenities. There are some challenges that go along with that. There's always pros and cons. If it sounds too good to be true, it might be, but they do offer a really good value here. So some of the cons to this is that you have to apply for residency in this neighborhood. So they're going to do a background check. They're going to do a financial report on you, make sure that you can afford the lot lease, and you have to basically apply for residency. So now when you go to resell that home in the future, who you're selling it to has to qualify to live in the neighborhood. So there's obviously some good parts to that that your neighbors have passed a background check. That's obviously a good thing, kind of convenient, but also restricts who lives there. And, you can't just like bring in a roommate if you wanted to. They'd have to pass that same background check and apply for residency if they're going to be there, and staying in that home. So kind of a neat approach that they're doing and something to watch for. If you're interested in that, let us know. We can get you all the details, schedule a tour to go check them out. But they are looking to offer these homes starting in the spring to summer of next year. So coming right up, they have broken ground. They're working in there. And that's over off of Jackrabbit and just to the north of Valley Center, to the north of that gas station there. So pretty awesome area too that they're doing this in. It's, on a main corridor and not a bad location by any means. So I want to hear from you. If you have any questions, make sure to put those in the chat. We're live right now. So go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And let me know, what do you want to know about Bozeman? What's going on with you? What do you think is going to happen with this real estate market? And how do you feel about the changes that are happening in Bozeman? Go ahead and put those in the chat. I want to hear from you. So there's a lot more development coming up too that I'm just not going to get into today. That's a little bit farther down the road. We'll save those for a future video. But I want to show you some things that are happening inside of the Bozeman market. So we actually have an interesting shift happening in the market. So over here, you can see the median sales price is down almost 4%. So this is month over month compared to November of last year. So it's down 3.9%. It's still up year over year though. So it's up 4.6%. We had a lot of growth last year and people saw a lot of equity gains in their home, but we're starting to see that come over the top. So the biggest thing is you're going to notice that new listings are down 35.9%. So that's a huge drop. And a big part of that is seasonal. So we see this every year as we get into the holiday season, that less houses are coming on the market, but we're seeing a big drop in inventory and the days on market are climbing. So it's still a seller's market, but there's a lot of favor returning to the buyers that are looking in this market. So we're seeing stuff being offered that we haven't seen in a long time. First of all, there's a good chance you can actually have an inspection now. So for the last several months and through the summer, if you wanted a home inspection, it was a challenge to buy a house because there were so many people trying to buy the same house that were willing to buy it without an inspection. So we're seeing that coming back, as well as credits for, home improvements, for rate buy downs. So everybody's talking about interest rates right now and how high they are. They've actually come back down and it's been dropping fairly steadily. But we're able to a lot of the time now get credits to buy down those rates so that, it makes it not as drastic. So that's a good thing. And then we're actually seeing houses selling below the median home price. So let's see here. So closed sales are down too, which is leading towards the days on market going up. So what do you think about this? I'm curious what you are expecting to happen. So I wish I had a crystal ball, but what do you expect to happen in this real estate market? There's a lot of people that say a crash is coming. Personally, I don't see that happening. I think that there's still a lot of good indicators. And honestly, I think we're entering a more healthy real estate market. So we were at a unsustainable pace before to where we were seeing 20, 30, 40% equity gains. And it just wasn't sustainable to where the median house price was just jumping so drastically. People were listing their houses for crazy numbers and they were getting it. And that's just where the market was. The buyer pool was willing to pay a lot of money to get into a home. Money was cheap, interest rates were low. That's changed, but it was easy to get into a home. And even though you were paying more, interest was so cheap that your monthly payment was manageable. So that's shifting, and we're seeing it enter a more balanced territory. So, in general terms, anything for days on market, so or not days on market, but month supply of inventory. So how we measure this is if we have a 1 month supply of inventory, that means if we don't list any more homes in 1 month, we will have sold all of them and we hit zero. So a buyer's market is when we get over that 6 month mark to where we have 6 months of inventory and we're just not there yet. So you can see we have more of a 3 to 4 month, depending on what area you look at, supply of inventory. So it's starting to get to a more of a healthy inventory to where it's getting more balanced right now. I do think it's going to keep approaching a buyer's market to where buyers are getting more and more of an advantage when they're home shopping, but we're not there yet. We're still favoring the sellers, but it is balancing. So it's a definitely a good thing, but I'm curious what you think. Let me know in the comments. Do you see a crash coming, and what do you expect to happen in this real estate market? So if you watched any of our other videos, there's been a lot of comments on those, and there was a few of them that I wanted to address today. So I want to get to your comments too. So go ahead and put those in the chat. But we have a few comments. So this one I thought was pretty interesting perspective. So this is from Deep Fried Cherry Pie on YouTube. I love the screen name, but Montana seems like Colorado 25 years ago. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Obviously Montana and Colorado have a lot in common with topography and just the kind of lifestyle and the outdoor lifestyle that we share. But I think that a lot of that's happening. What we've seen in Boulder and in, other areas like Aspen, to where they got discovered and they blew up. I think we're going to go through a lot of those similar type of things. I don't think we'll be as big, but we're seeing a lot of that right now, that we're growing up as a city and a lot of people are moving here. So we also have Big Country 619. So they said, I live in San Diego, so it's definitely going to be a temperature change when we move to Billings, Montana. And absolutely it's going to be. So I resonated with this one. I was actually several years ago in San Diego for a business conference, and it was 80 degrees and beautiful. There was a warm front that came in and it was awesome. So this was in either January or February, and I was soaking up the warmth and the sunshine, and it was a great time. When I came home to Bozeman, it was negative 20. So on that one flight home, it swung 100 degrees, and it made me wonder why I live here. So, you're definitely going to have an adjustment period there when you get to Billings. Hopefully you got relocated and are enjoying it in Billings. So we got another one. This is an interesting question that I always forget about. So living in Montana, I don't really think about it because it's just normal, but it's always sunny here. So this question was, is it true that Bozeman averages 300 days of sunshine? Yes, it is. And that's a pretty incredible stat because, we're called the big sky state for a reason. And this is a big part of it, that we have clear blue skies. We don't have a lot of overcast days. Obviously, if there's a storm coming through or whatever, it's going to be overcast. But for the most part, it'll be freezing outside in the winter, but beautiful blue and the sun is shining. Same with the summer. We're actually a pretty dry climate in Montana. So, we get a lot of our moisture through snowfall in the winter, but in the summer, we get a little bit of rain and it's blue skies. So it makes enjoying the outdoors that much easier. We can go out and really enjoy it because the weather is most likely nice and enjoyable. It's going to be blue skies. You're not like when you get closer to the coast, if you're in the Seattle area where you get a lot of overcast and rainy days. That's just not what it is here. So we have an easier time to get out and enjoy that stuff without bringing an umbrella with us and enjoying that beautiful sunshine. So great comments from the three of you. Thanks for commenting on our videos and watching. If you have any comments watching live, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm curious what you're thinking, but I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what's going on in our real estate market and what's happening in Bozeman. And this channel is all about Montana real estate and living in Bozeman. So make sure to leave your comments, even if you're watching the replay of this later, which most of you will be. Go ahead and leave those comments down below because I'm going to be answering those in the chat after the fact when this video is over. And make sure to subscribe because we have more people coming on as guests. So we have people lined up. I don't want to spoil it right now, but we have some awesome guests in the future. So we're going to do this every other week and we just want to add value to you. So it's been fun hanging out with you today. I hope you have a great one and I'll see you in the future.